A single mom fell in love with her wealthy boss only to be dragged into his dangerous feud. While he was out of town, his enemy launched an attack and kidnapped her son for a week. Although this enemy released her son after Zayn paid $1 million ransom. But then, an old enemy of Zayn's father comes after Zayn for revenge, vowing to destroy him and everyone he loved. To protect her son, Sarah forces herself to break up with Zayn, cutting off all ties with him. Zayn begs her to stay, with all his might, but she refuses. Helpless tears stream down his face. Moreover, a week later, Sarah goes a step further and resigns because working alongside him every day but having to act like a stranger tears her apart. It's just too painful and awkward to bear. But Zayn refuses to accept her resignation, insisting she keep work separate from their relationship. He makes the ultimate compromise, offering a salary well above market rate so she can support her son. Plus, the children's hospital project is already in the works. Quitting now would mean Sarah abandoning her lifelong dream. Zayn says he'll arrange for a press conference to announce the breakup. That way, Zayn's enemies won't target Sarah and her son. These all benefit. No-risk terms eventually convince Sarah to stay. Meanwhile, Nasser sets in motion a frame up against Zayn. He hands his henchman the gun he used to kill the supplier. In the middle of the night, his henchman sneaks into Zayn's mountain villa, plants the gun in a box, wipes it for fingerprints, and slips away. Next, Nasser makes an anonymous tip to the police that Zayn's the real killer of the supplier. Officers immediately raid and seal Zayn's properties and company, conducting a meticulous search. The pistol planted in the desk drawer is treated as incriminating evidence. Detective naturally names Zayn a suspect and haul him in for interrogation. Zayn quickly realizes it must be Nasser's setup and tells everything to the police. With no fingerprints on the weapon and zero corroborating evidence, the police are forced to retreat empty-handed. But Nasser doesn't give up and leverages Zayn's inheritance of his late father's wealth as pretext to saddle him with old grudges. He orders his men to find journalists and leaked the allegations of murder online, weaponizing public opinion to dismantle Zayn's family reputation and his company. Suffering from cancer, Karam secretly fled abroad for treatment, unwilling to burden his loved ones with worry. In a desperate act to prepare for chemotherapy, he shaved off his hair, each strand a silent cry of despair. But soon, a phone call from a friend inadvertently ruins his chance at survival. Turns out negative news about Zayn's alleged murder case dominates every front page. Some investors pull out their funds, leaving Zayn's company on the brink of bankruptcy. Overwhelmed, Zayn calls Karam, begging him to return and help his friend survive the crisis. Karam willingly sacrifices his best chance at treatment and rushes back to his side. Unaware of how grave Karam's condition is, Zayn is puzzled by his shaved head. Karam cracks jokes to dodge the topic, asking when Zayn and Sarah will get married. In truth, he's silently wondering if he'll live long enough to attend the wedding. When he learns they've broken up, Karam is shocked, and the dormant feelings he's buried for Sarah begin to stir. But there's no time for romance now. They hold an emergency meeting, pleading with employees to withstand the pressure and deliver the engineering project on schedule. Despite searing back pain and cold sweat, Karam jokes he's jet-lagged and seeped, deprived, so no one suspects he's sick. After calming the staff's nerves, Zayn plans to gather criminal evidence against Nasser as counterattack. He asks a female employee to work as a spy at Nasser's company. Zayn gives her a USB drive with fake project files, instructing her to use it to gain Nasser's trust. It turns out this woman was the mistress of the father-in-law's youngest son. But after his wife, Noor, gave birth to twins, the man realized his mistake, returned to his family, and broke off the affair. Zayn capitalizes on the scandal, staging a public scene where he humiliates the woman and fires her. Pretending to seek revenge against Zayn, she approaches Nasser, claiming to defect and offering proof of her betrayal. A fabricated motive and seemingly confidential files from Zayn's company. Nasser naturally suspects nothing. Thus, the spy successfully infiltrates Nasser's inner circle, biding her time to gather evidence. As Karam's health deteriorates, his temper grows increasingly volatile and uncontrollable, and he would inevitably make poor judgments at work. Sarah notices something's wrong and asks if he's okay. But the usually soft-spoken Karam snaps at her. "Do you really care about me?" Taken aback, Sarah freezes, unsure how to respond. Karam instantly realizes he's been too blunt and quickly changes the subject, muttering about overwhelming work pressure and deadlines. In order not to let his mom worry, he endures the pain and pretends to be fine whenever they're together. But dreams often betray one's deepest longings. During a fever, he sleep talks, "I love you, Sarah." His mother is thoroughly startled upon hearing this. The next day, she gently warns him not to pursue his friend's favorite woman. Aware that staying will only expose more, Karam resolves to distance himself from everyone he cares about. Before leaving, he visits Sarah, the woman he's longed for day and night, and urges her to take good care of herself. Though Sarah is confused, she ultimately fails to grasp the meaning behind his goodbye. Karam moves to a remote city, settling into a quiet mountain retreat to await death and solitude. He avoids saying goodbye to Zain, fearing he won't be able to hide his emotions or his secret from his best friend. However, Karam's sudden disappearance throws Zain's entire rhythm into chaos. Now Zain is single-handedly handling every aspect of the company, while the rival circles hungrily, and his controlling mother meddles internally. The woman he loves is by his side every day, yet he must pretend not to care, forced to discuss only work with her. All of this piles unimaginable pressure on Zain, pushing him to the brink of a mental breakdown. At that moment, Nasser employs a gangster to set a trap for Zain to fall into. One day, just after Zain and Sarah finish a meeting and part ways, the gangster deliberately approaches Sarah to harass her. Already on edge, Zain loses his cool at the sight. He yells at Sarah to get in the car, then drags the gangster behind, a haystack to teach him a lesson. Sarah can't see what's going on. When Zain returns to the car, Sarah asks what he did to the man. The jealousy consumes Zain, his eyes blazing as he demands to know whether she cares about another man. Looking at the blood on his hand, Sarah feels a chill of alienation. The violent man before her seems like a stranger, nothing like the gentleman she once knew. But at the sight of her son, Zain's demeanor shifts abruptly. He turns gentle, playing tenderly with Ibrahim. This drastic switch leaves Sarah uneasy. After calming down, Zain apologizes, claiming he couldn't bear to see her disrespected. What disappoints him deeply is that Sarah actually suspects he killed the supplier, all because of his so-called violent side. This lack of trust crushes Zain, prompting him to avoid her in private. Due to Sarah taking charge of several projects, the two inevitably have to attend events together. When Zain speaks on stage, he embodies the qualities of an excellent leader and boss, never claiming credit for himself, but thanking employees and acknowledging everyone's support. This makes Sarah realize for the first time how enormous the pressure on Zain has been. She intends to explain to him that her suspicion wasn't intentional, driven mainly by her anxiety about her child's safety. However, Zain refuses to listen, stating he will only discuss business with her. Just then, police burst into the venue, accusing Zain of attempted murder of a gangster and take him into custody at the police station. In reality, this is all a frame-up by Nasser. Zain had only verbally scolded the gangster who harassed Sarah. He never physically assaulted him. But Nasser paid someone to severely injure the gangster and offered him a hefty reward to falsely accuse Zain of attempted murder. Zain explains to the police that it's all a lie and asks for a confrontation with the gangster. However, Nasser's men get ahead of the game and smother the gangster with a pillow in the hospital. This death further intensifies Zain's suspicion, and he will remain detained as a murder suspect until the truth is investigated. Everyone begs Sarah to testify that Zain only argued with the victim with no physical altercation, but Sarah refuses, saying she genuinely saw nothing. "I can't testify to something I didn't see. That's perjury," Sarah insists. No one understands Sarah, especially Zain's mother, who's livid with rage. Zain would do anything for Sarah, even take on the whole world. Yet, when he's in danger, Sarah still clings to her so-called morals. Ironically, even the father-in-law's family, who've only interacted with Zain a few times, believe he's innocent and insist someone is framing him. Of course, Sarah wants to save Zain, but her conscience won't allow her to lie. Now the company has descended into chaos. One of the two partners has disappeared, and the other is in jail. Many employees are considering resigning, and even clients are planning to withdraw their investments. Sarah has no choice but to contact a private investigator and ask him to look into Karam's whereabouts. At the critical moment, It's the spy who proves indispensable. She risked her life to install a recording device under Nasser's desk. Unaware of this, Nasser is convinced he's already won, excitedly recounting to his subordinate how he framed Zain and boasting about murdering the supplier. Once the spy collects all the evidence, she urgently contacts Zain's subordinate and hands over the recordings. He immediately delivers the audio to the police. Coupled with the forensic report, confirming the victim died of asphyxiation, the police finally conclude that Nasser orchestrated everything, and Zain is cleared of all charges. Meanwhile, Nasser receives a tip-off that police have obtained his incriminating audio recordings. Furious, he seizes the spy and swears she will pay a terrible price. He takes her to a remote house in the countryside where he viciously punishes and hides her. Fortunately, by evening, the police trace their location. After a fierce gunfight, Nasser is fatally shot and dies on the spot. Upon hearing the news, Zain rushes to the hospital to visit the spy. Though her physical injuries are not life-threatening, she suffers severe psychological trauma and decides never to return to work. Zain is very grateful to her. Without her, he might have been imprisoned. He offers her a substantial sum as compensation and promises to assist her with any future needs. On the other side, after watching Zain's interview, Sarah feels even more guilty, blaming herself for not trusting him. She apologizes to him and admits that she made a mistake. She explains that she had to distance herself from him out of fear for her son's safety, but Zain cannot forgive her easily. He excuses that he has too much work and doesn't have time to talk to her right now. His indifferent demeanor is a knife twisting in Sarah's chest, for she still harbors deep love for Zain. Her best friend comforts her, saying she was right to prioritize her son. Zain must still love you or he wouldn't mind so much. It's just that too many things are hitting him right now, and he'll come to you when he figures it out. However, Zain doesn't do that. After dealing with all these things, Zain decides to take a temporary leave and travel. He needs space to clear his head and heal. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a comment and share your thoughts. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm hastening to write and edit the next recap. Part 6 will follow.